Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I want to first say thank you so much for coming, not just to getting started with practical dashboarding, but also the Tableau conference as a whole. I'm Steph Dietzel. I'm an engineer here at Tableau. And to start off this dashboarding session, I want everyone here to take a look at all of the activities that I have on this story point and see if there's anything that you like to do, or if you don't see something for you here, what would you add? Everybody got something? Okay. I bet when you started doing these activities, you were not as good as you are now. I certainly have never been awesome at anything when I first started. And what we do is we learn how to do something. We problem solve, we get better, we try it again and again, we iterate. And that, I'm going to argue, takes creativity. So every person in this room, you've thought of your own activities, you looked up here, you guys are already using creativity in your normal day-to-day lives, and this is awesome. Myself, what I would put up here is I've actually recently been learning how to do printmaking, where you have like this kind of vague idea, you put together all these like little like Lego letter things, and you try it out, you iterate, you make different ideas, you try different things, I print it. And I had this really awesome experience recently where this complete stranger paid real actual money for something that I made. It was not a lot of money, but it was still just very heartwarming to me. And maybe this is my alternate career if I ever want to make pennies per hour. And why I bring this up is because of the central idea of this talk, and that is making a dashboard is a creative endeavor. Okay, and you guys, I've already got you. Everyone in here has already admitted to being a creative person. So we can all do this. And if you still feel a little intimidated or you're not sure how we go about this, there is a process that any person can use for any creative exercise. And it's called the creative process. Yes, it was named by an engineer, I'm sure. And in this process, we start off, don't worry about what is good or perfect or ideal. You just try a bunch of stuff. And then you look at it and decide what you like. You try it again, you iterate, you try some more ideas, you narrow them down, and eventually converge on your final beautiful product. And that's what we can do with dashboards as well. So what we want to do is we want to build dashboards using this creative process of iteration. And so the best way to learn something is to do it. In this session, we will start from scratch, prototype a dashboard using iteration, using the creative process, and at the end, share it with the world on Tableau Public. And if you're thinking, what is all this creativity? I signed up for practical dashboards. Let me explain. We're not going to focus on all the design principles of what makes a good design, like text hierarchy or color choice, because we have really great sessions that focus explicitly on that. What I want to share with you is a collection of strategies and tips that have helped me personally building dashboards as we navigate the mechanics of like how do we actually use Tableau in this process to make dashboards quickly, efficiently, and in less time. So either less time per dashboard or more dashboards overall. So there are a few things that I think can help us along this journey. First, we're going to learn the basics of iterating in Tableau. How can you try out those different ideas quickly, compare them, contrast them, and then stay organized? Once we've got that, we'll start getting fancier. We're going to learn about layout in Tableau so we can bring our creative visions to life, and it's going to be great. Layout. What more is there to say? Finally, my favorite section is where we make it really fun. One of the strengths of Tableau is adding interactivity, so I'll show you some quick ways that you can do that just to experiment with how you want the interactivity in your dashboard to work. And finally, in Tableau 10, we released Device Designer, which lets you create dashboards for mobile devices very easily. So I'll walk through my favorite strategy for just doing real simple, quick mobile views. So that's kind of where we're going to go. So we're making a dashboard. A dashboard is a collection of worksheets shown together. So we're going to need some worksheets, and worksheets show data. So what data are we going to use? Is there anybody in here who likes to travel? Okay, we are getting along. The rest of the people, you can hold down the fort at home. Some people, when they travel, they like to collect, T-shirts or postcards or shot glasses. But for me, I like to collect data points. So this is a map of every place that I've traveled in the past 5 years. I've got some interesting filters. We can see where I went so far this year. We can also filter down by state. That's an interesting category to me. I go to Arizona to visit my family. Yeah, Arizona, woo. And this is running simply off of a Google Sheet. So I just, whenever I go on a trip, log it in here, and we're good to go. And if you're wondering how your map would look, I can quickly show you afterwards how to set this up and get this going for your own personal travels. So we've got the map, made us this interesting bar chart. This compares the total time I've spent traveling at a destination with the number of trips it took me to accumulate that time. You can see in Spain, I did a study abroad, so it was one trip, but really long. And I live in Washington, so I've spent a lot of time traveling around Washington, but over a ton of weekend trips. Next, I don't know what we're gonna build today in our dashboarding session, so I made this details view because sometimes those are really useful. So it just kind of just lists out all of my travels in case we want a closer look. And finally, I made us this timeline where we can see when I've been doing these travels. And we can even see the first time I came to Tableau conference. Okay, so we've got our worksheets, we've got our data, we're ready to go. I want to build a dashboard that I can use to quickly, just kind of share out with my friends and family where I'm traveling, when, and just give them an overview that's fun to look at. So let's do it. I'm going to come down to the New Dashboard button and make a dashboard. Okay, so Tableau makes it really easy to just start putting things on the page, start seeing your ideas. I can double click to add a sheet. I can also click and drag to bring these out into my view. Let's just bring them all out, see everything that's going on, and go from there. So I'm bringing them all out. Okay, we have made a dashboard. We might not keep this one as our final one. I have some ideas about how it could be improved. All right, well, what if I were to move this over here and take this legend and put it there? Wait a minute, guys. Is this better than what I had just before? Maybe I don't actually remember what I had before. Maybe I'll undo and compare it. Okay, but I can't remember what I was just trying to compare it to. The human brain is terrible at remembering things. So it doesn't work for us to try and think about something, go look at something else, and try and remember back. Also, the undo thing is super tedious. So let me show you how I like to try out different ideas in Tableau. Come down to the tab, bring up the context menu, and I hit Duplicate Sheet. And that makes me a copy. So I can try out my ideas right here. Maybe in this one, I want my timeline to have more width because I think it looks really good stretched out. So I'll move it right there and bring it down, trying it out. Even more. Less than that. Great. Okay, that's one idea. I can try another. Okay, come down, duplicate sheet, and maybe in this idea, I think we're not getting a lot of value out of this text table because we can't even read it. So I'm just going to get rid of it. And now I can quickly back and forth compare my different ideas and decide what I like. And maybe here I like that wider width of my timeline. Here I like the simplicity of having that details view gone. And so we can keep going. I'll do another iteration, duplicating the sheet. And in this one, I'll just take out that details view, combining the two ideas that I've tried out. And this is starting to look better. All right. Has anybody spotted a problem with the strategy? The duplicating sheet to try out ideas. Yeah, okay. I'm making a lot of tabs right now. I am gonna be dealing with like tab explosion everywhere very soon. So how do I like to stay organized when I'm trying out all these ideas? Once I'm done with some dashboards, I don't really want to keep them in my view. I want to hide them away. But I do not want to delete them because the creative process is all about trying new ideas. What if I want to go back to a different point, try some different ideas branching off from there? I want to be able to get them back if I want to. So I need a way to hide them away, not see them, but still a way to bring them back if I want. And so Tableau lets me do this. I can hide sheets in Tableau, but only if I've used them somewhere. And that place that I've used them is the only place they'll show up, and that's where I can go back to get them unhidden. So let me show you. We have something called stories, which are a guided walkthrough of dashboards and worksheets, which we're using here as a presentation. And you can see I have a ton of dashboards in here, but you don't see them anywhere. That's because they are hidden. And this is the only place they show up where they're used. Here, I could unhide them if I want. And we can use this idea of hiding dashboards once we've used them in a story in kind of an alternate usage. We're not trying to present, but this can still be a nice tool. So I can create a story. I can put anything in here with easy double clicks that I'm done with. I think we're done with our worksheets. I think we're done with our dashboards, 16, 18, 17. They're all done. And now that they're in there, this is where they're used, so I can hide them. I have this option called Hide Sheet. So I can click it, and it's gone. And here's something that I haven't put in the story. Notice, there's no option to hide the sheet because it's not used anywhere. If we let you hide something without a way to get it back, it would just kind of be like an orphan disaster kind of thing. We don't want that to happen to you. So I could also go and hide each of these individually. I can also come to the Story tab and choose Hide All Sheets. And that will let me just bulk hide everything that I don't want in my view, but I don't want to delete. And anytime that I want to get it back, I can quickly come back here to my story, find where it's used, and unhide it. So I kind of think of this as a junk drawer. It's everything that I guess I have to keep around in case I need it, but I do not want it cluttering up my actual workspace. So I literally call it that. I'll give it a name. If I can type in front of people, junk drawer. And that's it. This is how I iterate building dashboards in Tableau. I right-click, duplicate the sheet, compare and contrast my changes quickly as I make them across different copies, and then to stay organized, I put everything I'm done with into a story and hide all the sheets. That way I can get back to it if I need it. It's out of the way. All right, now we're ready to move on to some more fun stuff. Now that we know how to iterate, let's do something. Okay, we're gonna talk about layout in Tableau. Okay, I think we can fix up the layout of this a little bit. First of all, like the map title, duh, it's a map. We don't need this taking up space. So I'm gonna hide all the titles of my worksheets just to give that more room for my actual data and visualization. So we know the timeline's a timeline. I'll hide that. And here, these are kind of, the length versus frequency is kind of described, and the axes don't need this either. Okay, that's all gone. I do want to add an overall title to give people just kind of a grounding context about what's happening here. So I'll come up to the dashboard, and I'll show the title. Okay, dashboard 19, that's a great title, but maybe we can improve on this. Does anybody have an idea what we should call this dashboard? Steph's trips. I like it, it's short, it's descriptive, it's great. Okay. Well, let's look at this dashboard. I notice that every piece of content is up against another piece of content. There's no gapping between them, they don't overlap at all, and they fill the entire surface area of my dashboard. And Tableau calls this tiled mode. It's where every piece of content is like a tile in a floor. They're all up against each other, you can't overlap them, they fill the entire floor surface area. And this is the default in Tableau. And it's, it's nice, it's useful, it's the default for a reason. But what happens when we want something else? What if I wanted perhaps this legend to be able to float over that tiled surface area? Well, in Tableau, we can do this too, and it's a mode called floating. And I can convert this content by opening the context menu. I have this option, it's called floating. When I click it, this little legend floats above all of that tiled content, and I can move it around anywhere. It's completely independent, and that's an interesting point. It's so independent, I can move it anywhere, but it's also independent in that it has no idea what is going on underneath it. So you place floating content around, maybe next to these bar charts. Just one thing to watch out for is if your dashboard is going to resize or change underneath it, floating content doesn't know. So it's just one thing to keep an eye on. It's okay, but that's the only thing about floating. It's independent, and you've got benefits and also a couple gotchas to watch out for. Okay, but when do I really want to use floating? What is floating good for? Well, on my dashboard, I want the focus to be on my beautiful visualizations. I want it to be about my data. And I want my data to have the most room possible. I don't think that these filters really deserve this whole side section. Wouldn't that be better if my visualizations could have that space? So what I can do is take each of these filters, I'll open the context menu. Oh, no, I'm not sure what I'm doing there. Open the context menu, and I can change it to floating. Okay, but guys, the context menu, not that fun to use. It gets tedious if I have to change a lot of things to be floating, which is why I'm going to tell you about my favorite feature of Tableau. It's a little bit hidden. I went for years without knowing about it, and I don't want the same thing to happen to you. I literally cannot oversell this to you. Tell all of your friends, the Shift key converts between tiled and floating. It's so cool. Okay, I have this floating filter. I will hold down Shift, and when I move, it becomes tiled. No way. When I have something tiled, I hold down the Shift key, and it becomes floating. Yes. Do not underestimate the Shift key. Okay, so we can do this. We can bring out both of my filters. I'll hold down Shift, and now they're all floating there. And my viz is tiled underneath it. It fills the whole surface area, so it's expanded. And my data is bigger and has more surface area, and it's great. I like this a lot. Okay, let's undo real quickly. I had to change each filter individually. But really, to me, I think of these more as a group. They're both filters, they both go with the map, they both look the same. I really want to treat them as a unit. And Tableau can help me do this with something called a layout container. Now, layout containers let you group items and then treat them as a unit together. You can move them, resize them. It's good. Like we have some right here. And there are a couple of flavors. There's the vertical one, like these guys are vertical, and a horizontal layout container lets you put your content horizontally. So let's check it out. Duplicate my sheet, and we see, I can select this space, and that dark blue tells me that I have a layout container. Anytime you see dark blue, it's a container. So let's pick it up. And now I can move these as a group. And let's try the horizontal one. It's located, they're all right here, if you want to drag out a new one. So I'll pick it up, and let's put it in. Maybe that looks good. I select it, I see the dark blue, I know it's there, it's good. So let's put some stuff in it. I'll grab this, and I see dark blue, I'm gonna drop it in. Let's put something else in it. How do I know that I'm dropping this into my container that I just put here versus putting it to the side of it? I see that dark blue border. Here, that's something else. Here, it's in the layout container, so I put it in. Great, and now I can move these together. But I have to select the container to move them together. Here, I could just click in the blank space. There's not any blank space right here. How do I get to that container I know is there because I just put it in? There are a couple of ways. First, click in the blank space if you have it. Second, I can open the context menu, and there's an option called Select Layout Container. When I click it, there's my layout container, and I can move these as a group. Okay, but context menus, totally not hip. What is a better way, you might ask? And I have an answer. Look at this gripper mover thing that we have here. Anytime I double click on it, that selects the layout container that holds that object. So if there's no blank space to click in, if you don't want to use the context menu, you can just come up here and double click. And so now I can move these. Let's move them all, maybe up here. Cool. What else might I want to do with a layout container? Well, these are not even. I cannot unsee it. How can I fix this right now? In the layout container, if I pick this up and I move it, I notice that Tableau will actually kind of snap it to interesting fractions for me. So I can snap it to a half. I can also snap to like a quarter. If I just get close, it'll snap right there, a third. So if you want different proportions, it's easy to get that. I'll leave it at a half. Okay. And that's useful for, making your content align the way you want it to. I think that's it about layout containers. You can use things as a group, and there's some interesting ways to work with them, like double-clicking the little thing, mover thingy, to select it, and then moving things as a unit. Okay, so back over to the dashboard we're building. We've got tiled versus floating, and I want to float kind of more supporting content so my data has more room. And we've got layout containers that let me treat things as a group. Can I combine these concepts? Yes, I can. Okay. So I'll select my layout container here, and I can make my layout container be floating. So I will hold down the Shift key, pick it up, and now it floats. And I can move it wherever I want. I can resize it. And now I'm treating these filters as a group, floating them over the data so that my viz has more room. That was great. Okay, I'm really excited about that. And what happens if I want to move them and I click here and I've got just one filter and I really want to move them both? Again, I can double click and move them around. Okay, this is starting to be good. Yes, well, what's going on here with this legend? Right, it is floating, so it's independent, and the content underneath it has expanded it has no idea. So there's a little bit of a visual conflict happening here. So I'll just pick this up and put it somewhere a bit safer. Maybe here. Okay. Is this looking good? Do we like this layout? Okay, I like this layout, even though none of you have an opinion. So that's what we did with layout. We learned about 2 different modes: tiled, the default, expands to fill the entire dashboard surface area, no gaps, no overlaps. Everything is like a tile. There you go, that's why it's named that. And then floating, a contrasting mode, floats above that tiled surface area and can be used to just move things independently. And I like to use it to put filters and legends and little supporting content above so that my viz has more room. Layout containers let you group things together and treat them as a unit. Whenever you see the dark blue, that's when you're working with a layout container. And there's some convenient snap points for easy alignment. And when you want to select the layout container of something, just double click on that little gripper. Okay, oh, and what was the most important feature of this section and this talk? It was shift, yes. Okay, where are we at? My favorite section, interactivity. My favorite because it's the most fun. Okay, here we are. Oh, you know what? Let's clean this up. Dashboard 20 we don't really need. Maybe we'll go back to it. I'll put it into my story, and then here I'll hide all the sheets. That way our workspace down here is nice and clean. We're going to go forward. Okay, interactivity. How can I make this interactive? Okay, we've got a good starting point. I've got some filters. Maybe I want to see every place I've been last year. But that only affected the map. Wouldn't it be cool if this filter could affect the entire dashboard? Yeah, it would be totally cool. Let's do that. I'll open the context menu, and we're going to look at this item called Apply to Worksheets. And we've got a lot of options here, so let's talk through them. All using this data source. That will make this filter apply to every worksheet that is connected to the same data source. And for a simple case like mine, where I've got one data source, one dashboard, this is what I want. This is simple enough. This is great. So we can apply it. And there we go. Have you guys seen this little icon right here? The little funnel with an X on it. That's one of my favorite things, and it just clears the filter right away. So let's make state apply to all these sheets as well. We'll do it a little bit fancier. Open the context menu. We're going to go in here, and instead of using this data source, pretend that I have lots of different dashboards happening based off this data source, different worksheets on different dashboards. I want to keep the filtering for them separate. I don't want to go to one dashboard, set some filters, go to the other dashboard, have them still set there, and then be a little confused and then have to go back and unset them. You just want to keep everything nice and contained in its own sheet. That's when this option is useful. Selected worksheets. I'll open it, and I get this dialog. And I can see all of the sheets in my dashboard, and I can choose which ones I want to be affected by the filter. I'll choose all on this dashboard. That's a nice shortcut. And when we hit OK, all the sheets on that dashboard have been affected by the filter. All right, filtering. That was great. Love to filter. But sometimes I want to be able to see something with more emphasis, but not lose the greater context of what's happening in my data. And Tableau, we call this highlighting. And it's a way to draw attention to specific marks within the entire world view in this case. Wow, okay. The way we can do this is in the legend. So if I click on my categories, nothing's really happening. But I've got this little icon here. We'll zoom in. It's a little highlighter pen. I swear it's a highlighter pen. It's a little something. And when I click on this, that creates a relationship where when I click on the categories in the legend, the legend is highlighting those marks in my viz. And I can see them right away, so I can see where Washington is, but within the whole context of my travels. So that's when highlighting is useful.
Is that only because you set the filter action, or is that part of a legend function that's already there?
I did not have to set any action for this to happen. Everything that I'm going to show you today doesn't require any manual configuring of actions, which, yeah, is a useful thing, but we're not going to get into it. What this is doing is Tableau will configure it so that the legend creates the highlighting. I don't have to do any extra work besides toggle this little button. Okay. So I think we've got a good start to some interactivity here. We've got filters, we've got highlighting. What more can we do? Tableau is all about data, so when I click on my data, whoop, I had that already set from earlier, so interesting. Yeah, oh right, we've got highlighting, we're good. Okay, totally got lost. So when I click on this data, I'd really like for that data to drive the interactivity of my entire dashboard. So when I click on a state here, I'd really like to see that state in more focus. So I want to use this viz to filter the rest of my dashboard. And this is actually very easy to do. I've got this little icon over here. When I hover over it, it says use as filter, and that will use this viz to filter the rest of my dashboard. So when I click on it, I select Washington, there we see the map and the timeline have been filtered to show just the Washington category. And this works great with multi-select as well, so I can add in a couple states, and they're all filtered. So that is a great way to add interactivity quickly and easily, just using this little use as filter icon. And if you really want to, it's also in the context menu right here. But the icon's easier, so that's one option. We've got this dashboard that has highlighting, it's got filters you can control, and it's also got this viz to drive filtering the entire workbook or dashboard. So that's one option that we can do to make this interactive. So, I'm going to call this, I'm going to make a copy. Duplicate the sheet. And now the one that we're working with, we'll call this viz as filter. Okay, but what if I don't want that? What if I prefer the highlighting kind of route where I can draw attention within the larger context of my data? Okay, so here we've got our copy. We can turn on the highlighting again. And in this one, I want to be able to control the highlighting at a different level than this legend. Okay, well, we saw this little highlighter icon right here. I want to draw your attention to another little highlighter icon right here in the toolbar. When I open this highlighter, it gives me a menu, and these are all different fields in my data source, and I can choose what I want to highlight on. So we can see that place, which is the field in the legend, is already highlighting. So if I want to choose something a little bit more detailed, I'll choose state. And now I can see highlighting at the state level. And again, this works with multi-select. So that's another option. Depending on my goals, I might want people to see my whole view or be able to focus down. So this option is called highlighting. Okay, we'll embrace that typo. And can you guys help me choose which one works better for this dashboard? Because I'm only going to can only pick one. So should I pick using the viz to filter the rest of the dashboard? Or should we pick having the viz highlight the rest of the dashboard? Anybody out there for filtering? Okay. Anybody out there for highlighting? Okay, let's go with filtering. That had a decisive victory in the vote. So this is the dashboard that we're going to end up with. This is the what I want to share with all of my friends and family. And let's talk about what we did. So to add interactivity to it, we took the quick filters that were already there and we applied them to all the sheets in the dashboard. We also used the viz to filter other visualizations in the dashboard. And for highlighting, to be able to see things in context, we used the legend with a little highlighter icon, and also the highlight menu with that same icon in the toolbar to give us greater control. Okay, well now, are we ready to share this with the world? No, we're not, because we still need to talk about devices. Chances are someone is going to want to look at our dashboard on a tablet or a phone, and we can be prepared for this pretty quickly with not much extra work. So let's talk about devices. What does this dashboard look like on a tablet? I don't know. Tableau can help. We have this new button called Device Preview. And when I turn on Device Preview, we get another bar here, and that tells me kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a tablet and kind of some dimensions for kind of a normal tablet. And what I can see is this black border here shows me what that tablet screen size would look like and how my dashboard would fit on it. And this is not terrible, but it's also not great right here. There'd be a little bit of scrolling and a little bit of gap. We can do better than this. So if I want to adjust this tablet layout, I can. And I can do it using this Add Tablet Layout button here. So I'll click this, and now we've got a new view. Over here, we have Default, which is the dashboard that we all built together. It's the original thing that we built. And I have Tablet. And these are the same dashboard. They are one dashboard. They're one URL that you navigate to. But when I'm on a computer, Tableau knows I'm on a regular big screen computer, and it will give me the default. When I'm on a tablet and I look at this dashboard, Tableau knows I'm on a tablet, and it will give me this specific tablet layout that we're going to build. So what's an easy way to make a layout that works for a mobile device? Well, my favorite strategy is just make it fit on the screen and then adjust from there. So we've got good options. We've got the default size, fit all, which just makes it fit the screen size, and then fit width. And that's useful if you want to do like a long scrolling kind of mobile dashboard. In this case, let's fit everything on. And that looks pretty good. That was pretty easy. I can scroll through a couple different tablet sizes. Maybe that's looking a little weird. And then also on tablets, I think people usually look landscape, but often look portrait. So I want to know it works in both orientations. So I'll just check this right here. So I use this little icon, and I can change this to portrait mode. And I see that, well, if we go over here, if it gets smaller, I'm afraid of this legend colliding with Hawaii. Also, it shrinks kind of proportionally, so I'd have to make it bigger. I feel a little bit worried about these floating things with my tiled content changing size underneath them. So in this case, I think I want to do something different to kind of prevent any issues that might arise. So in this case, let's pick up this layout container using a double click. I see the dark blue, I know it's there, and it's floating right now, but I want to make it tiled, so I'll hold down Shift. There we go. And I'm going to put this legend into it as well. It's floating, I'll hold down Shift and put it in there. And now I have a layout that I think will work on both portrait and landscape mode. And we can try it through, we got an iPad mini, we got iPad generic, and it's looking good in all of those. So I'm very happy with this. And what's important is that this affects the tablet view only. If I go to the default, we still have the original layout that we built together. So the layout is the only thing that changes. I can select something, and it's again selected on the child layout. That's all one dashboard. It's only the layout that's different. Okay, well, we did tablets. What about phones? Let's change something on phone. I'll come up here. I can choose phone from device type. And again, I see that black border, and that lets me know that this is going to look really terrible on a phone, right? Unless you are kind of very into the weird, only a quarter of a map view. So what are we going to do? Let's fit it to the screen and then kind of go from there. So I'm going to add a phone layout. And again, I'll fit it to the screen. And this one, I think, needs more work. Okay. We could rearrange stuff like we can before, but we can also remove stuff. So this, gone. This view, these axes are never going to be readable on a phone. Gone. And now let's rearrange and make this work. Filters, really too small there. I'm going to bring them up. This one can bring it up as well. Let's even them out there. And then maybe bring my timeline up to the top. And there we go. That's kind of a sensible mobile view. That makes way more sense than like a weird, map corner. And this only affects the phone. See, the selection is the same as the default because it's the same dashboard, but the layout is independent for each. So when I go to this on my computer, I see the default. I go to it on my tablet, I'll see the tablet layout. And I go to it on my phone, I'll see the phone layout automatically. It's pretty good. Okay, let's undo that selection. Okay. Well, we took some stuff off here, and I want to say that that's okay. If I change my mind, I can bring it back in. That sheet with the bars, it's right here, and if I want to bring it back in, I just totally drag and drop it right back out. So it's all good. And now we are ready to share it. So let's quickly recap devices, and then we'll go. Okay. Device Designer, Device Preview is super useful because you can already see what your dashboard will look like on different devices. And if you don't like the way that looks, you can add custom layouts for tablets and phones, and the layouts, and when Tableau sees someone go to that dashboard on a tablet, they'll give the tablet view. When they see someone go to it on a phone, we'll give the phone view. But the nice thing is that it's still one dashboard. So filtering and selection and highlighting, that's the same across all of them, and it's like one URL for people to navigate to whatever device they want. And my strategy for easy mobile views is just like fit it all on the screen and then decide what to do. So you can either rearrange stuff to make more sense or just remove stuff. And if that sounds like kind of like okay, but you want to do more, you want to have a better mobile view, I'm going to point you guys to some advanced mobile design sections that will give you better strategies for dealing with that, right? This is kind of like the baseline level of how you might make something look okay on mobile. All right, so this is our dashboard. Let's share it. Okay, come up to server. I'm going to save this to Tableau Public. And there's something cool right here. Because I'm using Google Sheets, I can check this checkbox, and then anytime I add a trip to my spreadsheet, this view will update and automatically show there. I think they run the update once a day, and we can trigger it. So well, let's give it a name called Wednesday 2. Okay. I'm going to embed my Google credentials just so that will keep working. All right, and now Tableau is going to package up all of this data, figure out the views for the tablet, the phone, the default, and send it up to Tableau Public. And at that point, we're going to see it load on the web with the power of the internet. Are there any questions right now? Okay, yes.
Does that also, when you set up the different device sizes, will that translate if someone's viewing it on Tableau server, or is that only for Tableau public?
Oh, so the different device sizes will work on Tableau server, Tableau online, Tableau public, any place that someone is going to view this on the web. Yes?
When you're on server, does it differentiate the different device? So when you're on server, are you able to distinctly go in and edit each individual one by device type?
Okay, so when you're on server in web authoring, we don't yet let you edit each of the individual device layouts. Okay, here we are, we've published it. It's on the web, anybody can go to this. We just went from literally nothing through the creative process to build a dashboard, and now we've published it. It is right here. That was cool, under an hour. And the way that Tableau detects device sizes, or devices, is by using size. So just for fun, I've already preloaded my trip here to Austin. And I'm going to tell, since I've opened this workbook, I'm going to ask Tableau to update that data so we can see it come in. And now, when I change my browser to be more of a phone size, and I refresh, we're going to get that phone layout because Tableau sees the size of my screen and gives me that phone view. So that was great. And it was the same URL. It all worked. And now let's try it refreshing again. Get back to that big view. That's nice. And already, my trip to Austin is updated and right there. Okay. What more could we possibly talk about? The most important idea of this session, which is that building a dashboard is something creative. You're never going to build exactly what you want the first time. It's all about that process of iterating and coming through and just kind of figuring out what you want. And I hope that at least some of these strategies that have helped me will help you be more efficient in your journey to do that. So here's my contact info. I want to point you to a couple things first. The session is repeated again tomorrow. And more importantly, I think there's some really good related sessions that you might want to watch either tomorrow or in the recordings. We've got designing dashboards for mobile that will go over Device Designer in more detail and help you do some more advanced mobile dashboards. If you're interested in those high-level design principles and what makes a good dashboard and how you can really design efficiently, I recommend the visual design tricks behind great dashboards. And finally, dashboards are built for people. People will use your dashboard. So when if you can think about your audience and make it the most usable for them, everybody wins. And to learn about that, I recommend Guerrilla Usability for your dashboard, which is run by one of our user experience designers and one of our user researchers at Tableau. Finally, I would love your feedback on this session, and if you could send that to me in the app through the survey, I would totally appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming.